Hello and welcome back to Green Street Elites and another edition of the In-Crowd. To my left, a man that needs no introduction, but go ahead, introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Russ from West Ham
That was
Network.
excellent.
From West Ham Network. Yeah, I hope you're all well. Great, pleasure to be on. Thanks for asking me to get on, Budge.
Oh, mate, it's a pleasure. I wanted to talk to everybody that I've been chatting to in the chats, and you've been kind enough to invite me onto your streams a couple of times. So, you know, a favour for a favour, that's how it works for me. Um, this is just basically a little get to know you about how and when and why you got into the club that you support, which is obviously West Ham United. And obviously, a lot of people also know that you work for the club, so
Yeah,
we'll go a little bit into that as well, Russ.
sure.
So
Yeah, go for it.
to start off, can you remember how and when it started?
Very similar to probably a lot of people you've spoken to. No choice. No choice. So actually, my West Ham lineage goes back to the Thames Ironworks.
Wow,
My great, I don't know how many greats, grandfather was was one of the coaches when they were an amateur side, and so
brilliant.
they sacked him when they turned professional. That was the family story. But so from my mum's side, they've always been West Ham fans since, really.
Yeah.
And my family came out of that area. And then from my dad's side's actually from Charlton area, but there's like a little pocket of West Ham because it's obviously just across the tunnel or under the tunnel,
Yes. Yeah.
so
Yeah.
to speak. So he's part of that sort of West Ham pocket of support just the other side of the tunnel in Charlton. So
Right. Yeah.
I didn't have a chance at all.
So, first game. I mean, you must have probably been a young lad.
First game, I was actually reasonably late. I was probably about it was 92-93 season, so I was probably about 11 at the time, so I was quite a late bloomer, so to speak.
Okay.
I don't know why, but maybe because I'm the oldest of five, so my
Right.
brother who I went with, he would have been about 8, so probably that was about the right time for him. So we intended to
Yeah.
do things together as a set of brothers, so to speak. So
Yeah. Yeah.
he was
Which
old
is
enough then.
similar to myself and my brother, my immediately older brother.
Yeah, so
Um,
our first game was it was a 92-93 promotion season, so I was a glory hunter basically, and we beat Oxford United 5-3, and it's a game which stays in my memory for my whole lifetime because not necessarily the game itself. I think Julian scored a couple of thunderbolts, but
yeah.
because Oxford United scored after 30 seconds. And if you ever want to epitomise yourself, and then my granddad, God bless, or rest his soul, but he turned to me and went, "Get used to this. You got a lifetime of it," and that is stuck in my head forever. And I didn't believe him now. I do obviously I do believe him now, but I didn't believe him at the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
obviously we were beating teams because we ended up finishing second in that league that season. So but yeah, no, it was if you ever that just sort of an archetypal
Yeah.
example of being a West Ham fan. It's going to your first game and the opposition, score after 30 seconds. All that interest. You got the hat, you bought it all. You got the little burger in the little burger hut outside the East Stand, and yeah, 30 seconds in they score. But as I said, we end up winning 5-3, and went to a few games like that season, that promotional season.
Oh, I seem to have frozen again.
No, you're right. I can see you're just a bit blurry. You're fine. Don't worry.
Are you still there, Russ?
I can still hear you. I can still hear you. I'm still here. Don't worry.
Oh, good. Sorry,
I'm
my
still here.
apologies.
No,
I
don't
don't know
worry.
what happened there.
It's
Yes, it's one of those born into never get out of scenarios, isn't
yeah.
it?
And there's obviously I've interviewed lots of fans and people like that, and it's always similar.
Mhm.
You don't usually get, whereas some of my friends, they might have been like fair weather Liverpool fans, or they may have been Man United fans for a little bit and then moved, glory hunters. I haven't
Yeah,
spoken to anyone, I think, who went to their first game and went, it was all right. It was all right. And then like 5 years later, they'll go again. No, once they're in, they're in. And
yeah,
that's
yeah,
why it's been a West Ham fan. I think that's why we're a special bunch of fans, really.
yeah. And I think that was also the beauty of the bowling ground as well, because there was such a an aura about the place and such a din within. You know, it kind of, I mean, like my first game was 66, 67 season. You know, Jeff Hurst, Bobby Moore, Martin Peters walking out as World Cup winners. A home game against Newcastle. I believe it was about the third or fourth game in the league in the season. But I just remember that I don't remember the game. I was 4 years old. But I do remember being frightened by the roar of the crowd when them three guys walked out.
Yeah.
You know, it was absolutely incredible. And I do remember that. And it stuck with me all these years, you know.
Yeah,
But,
I get that.
yeah, it's an amazing place.
It is, but I think it's more like it's more. It's not. You're right. It's not necessarily about the result. Or I can't remember. I remember Julian scoring a couple of other. I think he scored two that game. I think he scored a penalty and he scored like one of his 35-yarders. And but it's not. It was the smells. It was like the smell of the cheap burgers and the onions. I can still smell that. I can still smell the cut grass. I can still smell the horse shit from the police horses. And it's and obviously you don't get that now. You don't get that on the stadium. You don't. It's different now. But it's funny because, as you said, you were at quite a young age, and a lot of people. My brother was 8 at the time, and but you don't feel necessarily. Don't feel that's probably the first time you've seen 10, 20, 30,000 people in one space. And I didn't remember feeling scared or anxious. You just felt you're part of something. You're a part of a community. And when I talk to, no disrespect, but guys like yourselves, not Clive, like the older fans, where they were like standing and they get like taken down to the front and they were on milk carts and stuff like that. Now it's just another world.
Yeah. I mean, my first experience, I mean, my mum and dad, they were West Ham fans, but they weren't great football fans, you know. Because my brother and I was 4, my brother was 8. We wanted to go to a game. They chose West Ham. My brother didn't. I did. But we went to Upton Park, and because my mum and dad knew very little about the procedure and that, we ended up in the away section with all the Geordies, which was apparently quite interesting. But my mum and dad had told me the story that I was crying because I couldn't see. And one of the Geordie lads went, "Look, missus, make your way down to the front with your husband. We'll get the boys down there for you." Picked us up and literally just passed us down, sat us on the little wall with that little railing that went around the top. And we were there for about 15 minutes before my mum and dad arrived, you know. And the Geordie lads were all really brilliant. They were looking after us by all accounts, you know. We had sweets and drinks given to us and all sorts, you know. It was great. You know, because some of the Geordie, fans came down with their families as well. So
yeah, totally.
You know, and all the way through, my mum was sort of a bit nervous, and apparently they kept reassuring her that you're with your family, nothing's ever going to happen.
Yeah,
and
that's the way it was.
Yeah,
that's the way it was. So it's lovely, and that's the side of football fans. I don't think anyone really. Like, unless you're a football fan, you appreciate, because actually, I know there's, there's been trouble and fracas between rival fans and things like that. But most fans are generally nice people, and the away fans, and they just support their team as passionately as you support your team, and that just epitomised it. What you're saying, no trouble at all. It's when it's kids, it's
and from all by all accounts, at half time. Couple of the stewards sort of asked us if we wanted to move, and my mum and dad went, "Actually, no, we don't. We actually enjoying the game. We're right at the front. We're being looked after. We're fine. Thank you very much." And it was because like me and my brother had West Ham rosettes on. Everyone else is in black and white. It was completely crazy. Moving on a little bit then. So you've been supporting basically since you were around 11 or so. Well, like as a going to the stadium and stuff. And you kind of, as I said earlier in the lead up, that you've got you're employed by the club now. give us a little rundown on what sort of capacity that is for the people that don't actually know.
So yeah, so for the last 21 seasons, I've been the match day DJ. Is that the best way to describe it? So yeah, so for 21 seasons I've been doing that. So technically I work for the club. I'm not employed by them as such, I don't do it, but I work at West Ham, and I've worked there for 21 years, my 21st season now I've been doing it. So I know I don't look old enough. Thanks. I know you're going to say that, Clive, but I appreciate it.
I was thinking about when your 21st birthday might be.
Well, it coincided with the opening of what was affectionately called the Rio stand.
Okay.
So yeah, and how it all, I mean, it's just one of those weird sliding doors moments. So, I was just about to go to uni. I was just about to go to uni. And the guy who was doing the announcing, Jeremy Nicholas at the time, he was a TalkSport journalist and did BBC and stuff. And I fancied a bit of that. So I think I've emailed him. Did we? Yeah, we had emailed him. I emailed him to ask his advice, and at the time he said to me, why don't you come and be like my runner on a Sunday? And that was actually worked out well because I was at uni, I was at Loughborough, but I'd come down for the weekends for the football, and then come back up afterwards. So actually on a Sunday, he was doing a Sunday night show, perfect. And go down, they were at South Bank, I could go there, then jump in the car and go straight up to Loughborough for Sunday night. So
yeah,
I said, yeah. And then he then got sacked by TalkSport, which is what they used to do periodically. They used to sack all their presenters every so often. But he said, he phoned me up and said, I can't do it, Russ. You can't, unfortunately, I've been sacked. But my box, because I don't know if you remember that the announcer used to be a little porter cabin, like pitch side on stilts next to the police one. So that's where Jeremy used to be. But obviously with the new stand, he was now up where the scoreboard was, between what was the Dr. Martins and the Bobby Moore. So there was the police control room, and so obviously he couldn't get up and down. He said, do you want to come and do that? And I was like, yeah, all right then. And then that was it. That was it.
Brilliant. So for 21 seasons, you've been responsible for us hearing Bubbles.
Yeah, I think I think when we left the bowling, someone asked me to work it out, and it was over 1,000 times I played that song. Rough, yeah. We tried to figure it out on average. Yeah.
Wow. I mean, that's actually quite a thing, isn't it? I mean, you've got you've got the better part of 50,000 people singing along to a tune that you're putting on.
Yeah,
that must actually warm the cockles of your heart.
It does this season, because obviously because obviously I was still doing it all behind lockdown, behind closed doors. I was still at the games, and we were playing the music, and there was no one there, and it was a real quiet atmosphere and weird, and I'd sit outside and there'd be no singing. All you hear is journalists typing, and all you hear would be bloody David Moyes and Kevin Nolan shouting at the team. And so I mean, it is. There's certain times, certain games where it does get to you because it's quite emotional. Obviously, the last game at the bowling was a huge thing. Being able, and I know it's not massive, but it's like my own little bit of history, and the fact that I was the last person to play the song at the bowling and the first person to play at the London Stadium. That to me is fine. That's my own little bit. And as a fan, you want to be part of the club, and that's my bit. So I'm always going to be. Not going to be in the record books or any shit like that, but I don't care. That's my attachment to the club.
Of course, that's and that's your personal achievement.
Yeah,
and that of all the people that were at the bowling that night, and the people that also came to the London Stadium for the opening game. When you played it for the first time, you basically brought the atmosphere to the new stadium, really, as best you could.
Kind of, as best we could, yeah.
And I think that the atmosphere in the stadium is great. I mean, sometimes, you have different pockets of people, singing different chants and whatever. But hey, it's a massive stadium.
It's huge.
But when you wind Bubbles in and everybody starts on that, I mean, as I said, it's better part of 50,000 people singing it. And on the night that we played Dinamo Zagreb, was it Dinamo?
Oh.
No, or Rapid Vienna, was it?
The first, I
Oh,
can't
I can't.
remember. To be honest.
Yeah, the first of the evening games.
Yeah,
With the flame, the pyrotechnics going
yeah,
off and bubbles going, and it was just incredible. It was
yeah.
incredible.
I love all
Brilliant.
that, and I know some traditionalists don't like, all the light shows and stuff like that. But
Mhm.
that's sort of one. I know that's one of the reasons moving to a bigger stadium.
Yeah,
It sort of, to me, that was like, I remember, like, because obviously I'm there like 4 hours before kickoff. That's my call time. So I'm usually there about an hour before that. So I'm there about 5 hours before kickoff, really.
right.
And you're walking around, and that first Europa League game proper, where you're
Yeah,
walking around, all the signs had Europa League like logos on. They the original West Ham signs were taken, London Stadium ones were taken down and replaced with. And you went out walked up the stairs, looked at the digiboard, and it had like Europa League symbol on the side, like on the. I'm like,
yeah,
this is, to me, that was like, right, this is why we've moved. This was why we've moved. And then
yeah,
when you had
yeah.
like the light show and the fire and you could never have done anything like that at that level. And so, and yeah, the crowd were rocking. And I mean, yeah, and it's a when
That we
when
were.
when when it's going well, that place. I'm thinking like Liverpool this season as well. I mean, I remember
Yeah,
going back and interviewing people at the supporters club afterwards, and they were
yeah,
saying that Liverpool game, that's why we moved, because there's certain games like that. I know people still talk about
yeah.
Ipswich in the championship playoff at the
Hmm.
bowling and certain games like that. That was that level. That was, you could
Yeah,
feel it. And I'm in sort of a soundproof box at the top of the stadium, so it takes me fucking ages to get up there. But it's and obviously I can't hear the crowd, like if 10 people, but if the crowd are really buzzing and they're singing and stuff, you can feel it
mm,
through the floor because it's made of steel, so it's vibrating off the
yeah,
floor.
yeah.
So that was literally that whole game. It was just like that whole game, and it was
Brilliant,
just,
brilliant.
yeah, absolutely
Yeah, I
loved it.
mean, I was there. I mean, I went to the game. We had such a good time. I mean, everybody around me, nobody knew me, of course. I
Yeah,
wasn't. It's not like I'm a regular at the stadium. But I managed to get myself a ticket, and yeah, everybody around me was, just in good spirits and everything.
yeah,
And it really cemented for me, Russ, that we're actually in Europe. This
yeah,
isn't just some
totally.
competition. We're
Yeah,
actually in Europe for real. And like you said, with all the signage, with the Europa League stuff on it, it really does cement it for you when you walk through that door, or when you walk up towards the stadium. It's all, it was a
yeah,
magic night for me.
yeah,
Magic night.
and
Probably
again,
the best atmosphere I've ever experienced in a football stadium.
yeah, possibly, yeah. I mean, again, it epitomized I know it's not Champions League that we were promised, so to speak, but it epitomized moving, for me, because
Yeah.
yeah, we've done Euro. I mean, we've done the qualifiers a few times, but
Mm.
but it was proper Europa League, and
Yeah. And
it,
and we're kind of commanding our group at the time
yeah,
as well.
totally,
You
totally.
know. So,
And it was just, and it was coming at a time where we were playing really well as well. So the fans were
mm,
already on the up, and so this sort of was like the icing on the cake, so to speak.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
no, it's yeah, it can be, obviously it can be a horrible place sometimes. It can be a horrible place and very toxic, same as
Yeah.
every football ground,
Yeah.
really.
Yeah.
And but when it's rocking, it's rocking.
Yeah.
It can
Yeah.
really make a
And,
massive
and I
difference.
do find sometimes that around the away supporters, when the away supporters are in good voice and they're having a rocking time, I find that our supporters tend to let them get on with it and don't really challenge them too much.
Yeah, yeah,
Like with Leeds, I went to both the Leeds games, and they were brilliant,
yeah,
absolutely rocking. you know. And fair play to Crystal Palace when we had the 2-2 draw. That was a really good atmosphere
there
on
was,
both sides of that.
yeah,
It was a really great atmosphere. Actually, it was
yeah,
my
yeah,
first
yeah.
game. That was my first game back
Wow,
since 1986 for us.
brilliant.
You know,
But I think, yeah, I mean,
yeah,
it does. It takes two to tango. It takes three, really. I think, because if the West Ham team on the pitch are performing well, then the fans will be doubling their efforts because they'll be
yeah,
appreciative of a tackle or a good pass or a good goal or a good piece of
Yeah.
skill. If the away fans are up for it as well, then it's almost like a battle. So, I mean, that Zagreb game, when it got a bit tasty and things
Yeah.
started being thrown, but you sort of expect that because it being a Croatian team and also,
Yeah.
again, we haven't been in Europe for so long that it's just our perception of what's going to be like. So you thought,
Yeah.
Eastern European side, it's going to, they're
Mm.
going to have some naughty fans, and it did turn a little bit naughty, but
It did. Yeah.
it heightened the game. It heightened the,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
as long as it's not as long as no one gets hurt, I think the whole sort of bantering. I mean, back at Upton Park. I mean, before I was working there, my seat, for many years was literally the front row of the Centenary Upper, bang in the middle. So literally, I was like leaning on the top of the Centenary Upper. And so I had the best view, a bird's eye view of sort of the chicken run and the away end, and
Right.
and that was it, and that was just the most entertainment you could ever get because it was like bantering the two sets of fans
Yeah.
bantering each other,
Yeah.
and that's what football's
Yeah.
all about. You go to be entertained, you go to have a laugh. We don't
Yeah.
go for the victories because we've backed the wrong horse. If that's the case, we go for a
Yeah.
laugh, and
Cool.
that I used to
Yeah.
love it. Sit there and just watch them all shout at one person. It's brilliant. Loved it.
Great. Brilliant. So 21 seasons you've been working at
Yep.
the home ground, and obviously been supporting West Ham for longer. So if you could nail it down to one, there's probably going to be a lot more than one, but favorite West Ham moment.
Okay. I would say, and I know it's probably one that a lot of people use, but for me, it was it was the last game at the Bowling, but it wasn't necessarily the game itself. So it was something which I don't think which I was very fortunate to be able to do. So I mean, the story was, so the last game at the Bowling, I was actually on jury service that week, and so I was like, oh shit, because I have to get there. Obviously, it was going to be a lot more production, and we had to do all this type of stuff, and we had the Cockney rejects and stuff. Fortunately, my case had been moved. Not my case, but the case I was sitting on. I wasn't standing. I was in the jury. Thank you for something like Gatesy kicks off. So I got there. So my case, the case had been deferred to the afternoon. So I drove up there early. So I was probably at the ground at 8 o'clock in the morning, I reckon, to get a good car park space just off Barking Road, so I could nip out on the way home. And then obviously I got my pass. So I was, and I thought, I had about 3 or 4 hours to kill. So I thought, oh fuck it, I'm going to walk around, go take some pictures. So there was no one there. It was like crisp May morning, and I was on my own walking around Upton Park. Just I had a wee in the toilet in the changing rooms. I sat in the dugout. I sat where I used to sit with my granddad. I sat where I first sat with my granddad and my brother on the east stand, and there was no one there. And it was just like my time to say goodbye, because during the game you're like running about and all that type of thing. So it's my time to say goodbye, and
very fortunate to get that.
Exactly,
really.
and it was like I sat there, thought, wow, and it was like I made sure that Flo got there. She never saw a game there, but we went to Nathan's one day, and I broke in with my pass, and so she stood on the pitch at Upton Park as well. She can't remember it; she was A3 at the time, but it was because obviously my love affair for West Ham started there, so it was my chance to say goodbye. So that was probably the one memory, because it's something that I've always got. I've got photos. People have got photos of the Bowling in the last game. They haven't got it where there's no one there. Do you know what I mean? So that was a huge
and I would imagine they're very personal to you as well. I mean, not the sort of thing
totally.
that you would, like put on an online, photo album or anything like that. Mate.
No, totally. I mean, for me, it was like, trying to think how long he'd passed. And my granddad must have passed about, can't remember, a fair few years before then. So
Yeah,
that was synonymous with that sort of early development of my West Hamness, and
yeah,
so
yeah,
being able to say goodbye to him sounds a bit cheesy, but goodbye to him, and being able to sit where I used to sit with my brothers, and
yeah,
just
yeah.
sitting there and just taking it all in, and thinking about how many amazing players have been playing on that pitch, players that I've never
Mm,
seen. Never been lucky enough to see Trevor Brooking or Billy Bonds or Bobby Moore play, but knowing they've been
yeah.
on that pitch, and you know,
Mm,
it was sad, but it was like, but it seemed like a really nice way to end a chapter and get
yeah,
ready for a new
yeah.
chapter. And that's the way I
Oh
looked at
yeah,
it.
definitely, definitely. And that's actually quite a touching story because let's be fair, there's hundreds and thousands of West Ham fans out there that would have loved to have had a moment like that.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
I
so
know
fair
full
play to
well.
you,
Yeah,
mate. Fair
yeah.
play. So worst West Ham moment then?
Worst West Ham moment. Good one. I think a worst one would have probably been the. I'm trying to think what it would have been a relegation. Would have been a relegation. I would probably say. I'd probably say the season we went down with. I don't know. It's tough. It's a tough one. With maybe the season we went down with Scott Parker as our captain. Because I knew he was leaving because he was going
Yeah,
because he to
yeah,
me was like, amongst the guys who do West Ham, I've been fortunate, and I still work with a lot of them for many years now, and we always had this affection for Scott Parker, and
yeah,
and knowing when we were going down, and he just got into the England squad, we thought he was the lifeblood of that team, and he wasn't there anymore. And it's obviously parallels to what's going to hopefully not happen this summer, but maybe in a couple of summers' time with Declan
yeah,
Rice. So
yeah, yeah,
it was
yeah,
a very sad time because we'd had, and I was talking to Nigel about this the other day. We used to have these save our season matches, which we always fucking lost. There was I remember having like when we went down in 0203, we went down in this season as well, these save our seasons matches, which we'd always lose. And it was just a really sad time. I remember I remember once we were, because obviously it was, I think there was, I remember like Denver Bar was going to leave, and we tried to play loads of nice songs, and trying to be really encouraging to him in the announcements and stuff. So he didn't leave us, and it was like, it was pretty
oh God,
desperate times.
yeah, yeah,
But yeah, because in there was that whole era, wasn't it, where we had every bloody shirt sponsor we had went bust after about 6 months.
I know, I
We had like
know.
the patch
XL
era.
were the one that really sticks in my head.
Well, they did, because they put the massive banner on top of the East Stand. So if you were
I
flying over
know.
from Stansted, you would see it as advertising.
Yeah,
Amazing bit of marketing, from my
yeah,
marketing brain. But as
brilliant.
you said,
Yeah,
that went out, and they had the patch, and then but all they did was
yeah.
cut off the
But the
shirts from the
funny
old
thing
ones.
was that XL had their head office literally about 6 miles away from where I live in
Yeah,
Crawley,
yeah,
right by Gatwick, and obviously, there was quite a hoo-ha when that happened. There
yeah,
was Sky Sports News and Sky News and BBC and ITV and Channel 5 and everybody. They were all there trying to get the scoops and that. And I just walked through with my XL West Ham shirt on, and everybody was looking at me. I just thought, yeah. Yeah, I was just, and then after that, actually, I took that shirt to a charity shop because I couldn't bear looking at it anymore. So I gave it to a charity shop. Yeah. So yeah, going relegation. Yeah, I would imagine that. And especially for yourself, as I said, working at the stadium,
yeah. I mean, there was no.
it must really burn because it's like
It
all
does.
season long you've been watching and you've been
Yeah,
trying to encourage the crowd to get behind them and everything else, and then all of a sudden now you're looking at championship football and you think,
yeah. No, it
was
does.
it all worth it?
I think the slight caveat was obviously we'd done it before as
Hmm.
well, so we were sort of used to relegation, because obviously we had the 0203 season. Obviously it was we knew what was going to happen. We knew it was going to be sort of widespread team rebuild, really.
Yeah. Yeah.
But also, football club is run by results, and so if the team get relegated, then there's people you work with you're not going to be working with anymore because they're going to get
Yeah.
sacked. Because that's always a shame. And I think people, relegation's awful lot on the pitch because I think I quite enjoyed being the Championship, to be honest, because you'd win most games most weeks.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, but off the pitch, you're thinking, and obviously I've been very fortunate to interview lots of ex-players, and they talk about playoffs, finals, and stuff, knowing it's not just their job and their money, but it's the tea lady, it's the groundsman. They'll get their job, they'll keep their job, they'll get more money, and so it's a football club isn't just 11 players on the pitch. There's hundreds of people behind the back
I
in the back
understand.
room.
And on the subject of that, I mean, you've obviously seen quite a few management changes.
Yeah.
Do you see a change of like general staff when that happens?
Not really.
I'm not talking about like the backroom coaching.
I know what you mean.
Yeah.
I know what you mean. Not as such. I mean, there's two which there's three manager changes which stick in my mind. Three, yeah, we'll go with three. One was Pardew coming in because he was the only one and has been the only one who has given a shit about what we did. In all honesty, Pardew wanted control of the whole club, so he would most pre-matches, and I was trying to get him on the channel, and I spoke to him about it the other day. He went, "Oh my god, I remember that." We would have a meeting in his room, in his little shitty cubbyhole manager's office at Upton Park, and every game we'd have a little 5-minute chat about what music we're playing today. Because he wants to, because it wasn't for him. He saw it as the whole club working together. So it's about,
of course,
the production. So it's about, if
we can get the bigger picture.
And it's all about percentages. So if the crowd are up 5% and 5% more excitable than they were last game, then that could resonate to the players and particularly Upton Park when it's very, very close game. He really gave a shit. The second one was when with really the Icelandics coming in really, and Zola came in, and Gianluca Nani, the director of football, just because he was just such a large and life character. And I ended up in a singing karaoke with him randomly at a Christmas party. But he was just brilliant. He was so but he was so in for it for the money. He was so dodgy as fuck. You could tell. He's just this greasily big bloke, but he was brilliant. I loved him. I thought he was really, really funny. And then the current regime. So the current regime, obviously we do the under-23 games at London Stadium. He's at every one of them. I've seen Moyes is always at the other, and I never saw him with Bilic or Pellegrini or anyone. But not just that, but obviously I was fortunate enough to see the team during lockdown, and so I know how much of a team spirit he has there, because you can see it. Because as I said, 21 years, I've never seen a manager an hour and a half before the game, him and the team do a lap, walked around the pitch, around the outside, around the carpet, all jostling. No one had headphones on, no one had the phones out. They're all talking, and I've never seen that at West Ham. And so, he brings that old. So for me, this is the greatest management change I've seen in my time there. Just a step change.
That's really nice to hear. And that also that would be something that a lot of people that may watch this would need to hear as well, Russ, because we don't get to see inside them doors 24/7 like you do,
No.
And I'm not saying that you're in the know. I mean, it's just that you work at the stadium and you do, you see things from a different perspective than we do.
Yeah, you get a feeling,
and you're able to give us, kind of little tasters of what you feel. It's not necessarily, club fact as such, but it's what and we kind of we feed on that. We do, and it's really nice to hear that in all your time there that you've never seen a togetherness like this.
But it's not a togetherness. Again, it's not just togetherness on the pitch, but it's the pitch, the coaching staff, and you just get a feeling. You've just got this feeling that everyone is in the same boat, and I've never, and I haven't felt that probably since I've worked there, or because There may be one or
And
two seasons. I think Allardyce had a similar thing, to be honest. I think Allardyce
right,
had us on the pitch, but obviously
yeah,
it didn't necessarily resonate with the fans. But
yeah, but
you know,
he also had Nolan as his captain as well,
exactly. So he
so
had the go
that
between,
really helped.
and that may
Yeah,
be and that may be a reason why this era is because you got Nolan in the team, in the squad,
it,
in the
in
coaching staff.
yeah,
So
yeah,
it may be he's doing a
yeah,
similar
common
role there.
denominator,
Yeah,
kind of thing.
yeah, definitely. And so, but
Mm,
this squad now, just there's, I mean, I see him walking in, and they're always jostling, they're fist pumping with the kit man, and and it's
yeah,
all, and even when times are not great, well, not great. I mean, fuck, we haven't been sick for 2 consecutive years ever in our history. So in the top division,
yeah,
so
yeah,
so it could be first time ever. So, it just seems to be on a right keel. So I
yeah,
know sometimes
yeah.
Moisey gets his knockers for being differing Dave and stuff like that, but he's done more good than harm, I think, at this club. So,
I
um,
actually agree with that completely. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. On the subject of the current squad of players and stuff, I mean, obviously we've got to mention Declan Rice,
yep.
Ballon d'Or winner in the future, Russ.
Oh, do you know what? It was funny. I was interviewing Bill Gardner the other day, and he was doing his Hammers
Good
11.
interview, great.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and brilliant, lovely chap, really, really
yeah,
poignant chat with him.
mm,
And he put Declan Rice in his 11, and I thought he's been a fan since the late 50s, and
yeah,
he's seen Billy Bonds, he's seen Bobby Moore, he's seen Trevor Brooking, he's seen
mm-hmm.
Devonshire, he's seen Edouard
Like
Cisse. I mean, he's seen all the greats.
Parker.
Um, he's seen Radislav Kovac. He's seen them all. Um,
Yeah,
but he put him in, and then do you know what? I sat there afterwards and I thought, and I went back and I thought, do you know what? He is. Yeah, as you said, he could easily be a Ballon d'Or. I think, to be honest, he plays for the right club. To be all honesty, because I think West Ham will give him that platform. But
yeah,
yes, I think he's a phenomenal player.
mm,
And then I started looking at his stats and stuff, and I'm thinking, I think I know you usually, I think he's my favorite player of all time. I really do. Like looking at it, and
mm,
I'm thinking, because I was thinking, I always used to say Di Canio was my favorite player, or I've always had a thing for Scott Parker or Noble
yeah,
or people like this. But you go back
yeah,
and look at I looked at it and I thought about it, and there hasn't been a player in my lifetime. As I said, I never saw Billy Bonds play and people like that who
mm-hmm,
just is a one man team, and sometimes he's a one man team, and
mm-hmm.
he's at such a young age. He's played 177 games, first team games, and I thought oh, he's quite young. He's been here for 5 years, right? He's played
Mm,
six, technically six. The sixth
mm-hmm.
season was the Burnley game we came
Right,
on the last game of the season, so I'm not including that. So he's been here, say, including this year, 5 seasons. He's made 177 appearances. He's been Hammer of the Year once. He's been runner-up twice. So he's only 1 year. His first year, he didn't win nothing when he was sort of established himself in the first team, really. And a lot of
yeah,
those appearances were sub-appearances.
yeah.
He's he is just the
Become vice
lifeblood.
captain,
Vice captain, exactly, at such a young
soon to
age.
be club captain.
Hopefully, if you don't fuck off in September in the
Yeah,
summer. Um,
yeah,
but
yeah.
yeah, I mean, and then you look at the others who would be,
And still qualifies to play for the under-23 for us.
mental, in it. And I mean, you look at so like Mark Noble at the same age roughly played about
Mm-hmm.
30, 40 games less than Declan Rice has played. I think I did it. I think Moro's was at 23, played about 200 games.
Yeah, yeah,
But he started a year younger than Declan Rice. I think Declan made his debut at 18, something like that.
yeah.
Billy Bonds had only made 100 appearances when he was 21, when he was 23.
Wow.
But then he'd signed him when he was 21. So again, it's a little bit different. But you're
Yeah,
thinking,
yeah,
and I'm thinking Declan Rice is in your, and actually, no, he should be. He is like
yeah,
brilliant. He's
yeah.
absolutely brilliant.
It's
And I
kind of
think
almost like he's cemented himself a place in everybody's from now on.
yeah,
Hammers
I mean,
11,
he's played.
kind of thing.
Definitely. I mean,
Yeah,
he's only played. I mean, everyone. I mean, as I said, Di Canio was always my favourite player of all time. When I thought of, just off the top of my head.
yeah,
But Dex played 40 games more than him,
yeah,
and you're like,
yeah.
fuck. and he's 23.
I know, yeah. And you know, like for me, even though he only played what was it, about 11 games or so, for me, I was gutted, absolutely gutted when we didn't retain Carlos Tevez.
Yeah, yeah.
I said the other day on the stream, I was actually physically ill that day. Now it may have been coincidence, but the day that I knew that he was signing for Manchester United, I was
Yeah.
physically ill that day, you know, and it was coming out of both ends, mate. Honestly, and but you know, and I think that's probably the worst reaction I've ever had to a player
No,
leaving. Do you know what I mean? But it's probably coincidental. You know, so is there a player out there that you? I mean, we're West Ham fans, so we support the players when they're in the shirt. We
yeah.
always have, we always will. But is there a player that you wish had never actually pulled that shirt on?
Oh, good question. The do you know what? I'm gonna get splinters out my arse a little bit here, but for me, I think anyone who pulls the shirt on, we would swap our life for him. We'd all like to do what they did, and it's like I interview guys who
Yep,
who might not have even made it to the first team, but they were youth team players or players who have
yeah,
played 200-300 games, but even to played once, they've lived our boyhood dreams or girlhood dreams,
yeah,
and so not, there's players who haven't played well for West Ham. That's for sure. You look at people like maybe Raz Van Rat, and I mean, I was never a fan of Kovac, really,
no,
but he was a lovely man off the pitch. We
yeah,
used to have a lovely chat.
yeah.
But anyone, I think there was no one I've really despised. Someone like Arnautovic, you despise until you put your shirt on. And he's a
Yeah,
bastard, but he's our bastard in the same way
yeah,
that
yeah,
I know everything. I wasn't really sort of compos mentis when the whole Paul Ince incident happened, but he was a
yeah.
phenomenal player for us when he was playing at West Ham, and
Indeed,
so
he was.
and so
Indeed, he was.
and I think even with the Payet thing, I think he was. For the 60 odd games, he gave us that final season at the Bowling. So we'll always be
He
thankful
was
of that.
incredible. Yeah, he's
Incredible.
incredible. Yeah.
Technically the best player I've ever seen at West Ham. So I don't think
I
there's
would
anyone
have
I really,
said the same. Yeah.
yeah. I don't think there's anyone I've really hated for wearing the West Ham shirt, because as soon as they do it, they've lived my boyhood dream. So they'll always have a
I
place.
like that outlook on it as it happens, Ross. You know, it's the first time anybody I've asked that question to has come up with an answer like that, to be fair.
Cool. Well, there we go.
Most people will go, okay, well, yeah, all right, okay, well, in that case, Roberto, or you
Yeah.
know, uh,
But I mean, Roberto, he was a case in point. The theory behind what they were doing there made perfect sense. Adrian wanted more money, so they let him go. They got in 2 for 1. Really, they got Davy Martin in, who's a West Ham through and through, and his dad. And we love
yeah,
players who come through from their dad. So actually, that was a really good West Ham signing, really, from our
yeah, it was, yeah,
hearts.
yeah.
Roberto came
And
in.
the game at Stamford Bridge
Exactly.
really
We'll have
kind of
that. If it
cemented
wasn't,
that.
if it wasn't for that, we wouldn't have that memory etched in our history. And
Yeah,
so everything happens for a reason. The Roberto
of
thing,
course.
it was. I mean, he was on theory, in paper, a good goalkeeper, and it would have been fine unless Fabianski didn't get injured. But that
Yeah,
one mistake caused, well, that one error of judgment, so to speak, basically made Pellegrini got sacked.
yeah,
Really.
yeah.
So Roberto, yeah, he wasn't our best signing, same as Alvaro Arbeloa or Gokhan Toure.
Hmm.
But these guys
Yeah,
weren't signed for being chumps. They were signed because they were good players. Just didn't
yeah.
work for us.
Agreed.
Look at Haller
Agreed.
now. Look at Sebastian Haller
Carlos
now.
Sanchez.
I mean, Carlos Sanchez. He and we signed him because he was playing fucking good at Florentina.
Yeah,
And
he had 1 or 2 moments with us, and that was really
yeah,
about it, though,
and
Russ.
and and sometimes when you're thinking these kids, he's not ready, and then you give them 5 minutes and you go, oh, we can't do it. You gave him 5 minutes. You know what I mean? It's like Alex Kroll. You bring on Kroll, and it's
Yeah,
like, what could if you're doing a 100-meter sprint and you go, actually no, can you come on at 90 out of the 90 meters, and we want you to win. Well, you've got to build up that speed, that momentum. You can't, you can't just come in and go right off and go and hit the ground running.
Standing start never wins a race, kind
exactly.
of thing.
So what do you expect with these players? But I mean, even they have been great players for us, but as I said, they've all done what we'd have dreamed to do once.
Yeah, agreed. So this season, finish like top. I know it's not going to be easy, but finish top 4 or a decent run in the FA Cup.
For me, I'm a sort of in between. There's a two schools of thought in it, and it's the older fans want the cup run, the younger fans want Champions League, and I'm sort of, I think I'm in the middle. I want us to. I'd love to see it to win a cup, because for me, I think Champions League is a bit. I'll be honest. I think we overachieved last season a little bit. I think, with everything that went on in the world, and that helped us a bit, particularly at the beginning. With the crowd, because you think that Newcastle game, that first game at London Stadium behind closed doors, and there was, we just sold Grady and Garner, and if we didn't play very well, and you can imagine the fans have got on the back, and that would have been our season already cemented. So for me, it's a cup run, because obviously I was born in 1980, so 81 rather, so I never saw us win a cup. Obviously I was at 06. I've seen us win the Intertoto. I've seen us win, a Betway Trophy, couple of playoff finals, but nothing to put around the outside like Arsenal do with all their cup victories and stuff. That's what I want. So I would say a cup run. I'd love to win the FA Cup. And as I said,
and perhaps a little star on the badge to show the cup win. Like we used to do back in the 70s and 80s.
Yeah,
they used to put a little star next to the club emblem, just to specify that they'd won the cup. The FA Cup,
no, definitely. I think it's that for me would be a great season.
Yeah,
and as I said, 6th, and I'll take 6th just because of what it means.
Yeah. So with Champions League in mind, Russ, we are still firmly in the Europa or European League, Europa League. Yeah, we're firmly in that. I believe we've got a damn good chance of at least reaching the final.
Yeah.
I know everybody's telling me, it depends on who you get, and does it really depend on who we get, Russ? I mean, we've beaten the likes of Chelsea and Liverpool this year, and we've lost to Brentford and Leeds. Exactly. I'm not meaning to be rude, but they're the games we should be winning, really. The Brentford Leeds games.
Yeah.
So we've beaten the likes of Dinamo Zagreb and such. I say bring on the Barcelonas and the Dortmunds and whoever.
Yeah, I mean, there's two schools of thought for me. There's, I mean, I'm so in the same boat as you, because at the end of the day, we've beaten the world club champions this season in Chelsea. So you're thinking the teams that have dropped into the Europa League, they finished 3rd in the Champions League, so they weren't good enough to be in the top 2. The only exception I think is maybe RB Leipzig, because they had Man City and PSG, so they had 2 of the best teams in the world in their group. So, and they still beat Man City, so they're the ones I'm worried. End of the day, it'd be great to get further in the rounds. But the flip side is, we want, we got European football because we want to go to Barcelona, we want to go to Lazio, we want to be playing these big teams away and home, so bring them on, because actually it's a good time to play them, but they still have the prestige about being Barcelona. And so they're like my second team, Barcelona. I'm fortunate enough to went to Barcelona quite a lot on holiday. We'd go and see, I had my stag do there, and we'd go see a lot of games there. So I've always had a thing for Barcelona, but it would be amazing could you imagine, well, they got 100,000 night there. So, I know 10,000 West Ham fans in Barcelona taking over the Ramblers.
Oh my
amazing.
gosh.
It'd be amazing. Absolutely.
And, on the subject of away fans, Russ, I get to watch as many games as I can on TV. I haven't been to an away game for many years, and it doesn't look like that's going to change anytime soon because tickets are very difficult to get.
Yeah.
But watching on the TV and hearing that anywhere between sort of 2,000 and 8,000 guys and girls out there singing and chanting names and basically bringing the London Stadium to whichever ground they're at. I find that so, exciting and that, and I have to just give a mention to the away fans that the guys and girls that go there, they do a brilliant job of representing our club.
Yeah.
As I said, and they do bring a little bit of London to whichever ground they're going.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And I think you always get that with the away fans. They are the more well, I mean, fuck it. Yeah, Kidderminster, getting up at God knows how long to get to Kidderminster for a 12:30 kickoff or whatever it was.
Yeah.
They are so committed.
And dedicated, obviously.
Yeah, dedicated. That's the right word. Yeah, dedicated, committed. That and that's why I want us to play a big team, because it's almost like a thank you for a lot of fans who have been supporting them for 40, 50 years. And you're playing Barcelona. I think it's the first time ever we've played Barcelona as well, potentially. And same with the others. I mean, even if it's a nice trip to Porto, to Portugal, or we know
I'll go and stay at my auntie's.
Well, there you go. You see, you got it sorted. So it would just be amazing, just as a reason why, everything's happened. I think with the moving, and if you're playing Barcelona, even when they come to London Stadium, there'll be like so much media interest about it. Will be talked about because it's Barcelona, and worldwide people will know about us now because Barcelona are a worldwide brand. Really,
exactly.
So
exactly. And especially if we do get a good result against them, home or away or both. I mean, a draw is not, like it. That's not an embarrassing result.
No,
against Barcelona, even a loss isn't an embarrassing result if you look at the history they have and the prestige that they carry. Obviously, they're struggling a bit at the moment, but so are we. So are we.
Yeah. So are we. And I think the teams, we shouldn't have to be scared against anyone we play, really, because they're all in the same boat as us, really. Some teams are playing well this season in their leagues, but it's different when it comes to a cup game, and it'll be different with what, because the fans will be up for it, and it'll be. And I think actually, it's what we need. I think at the moment we're in this sort of lull at the moment, so the excitement of a European tie, even if it's a Sheriff or it's Zenit St. Petersburg or Braga or someone like that, even Range. I mean, Range would be amazing, but that will get the crowd going. A good performance there could put us back on an even kill for the season.
Yeah, I agree. And, I actually do believe that we do stand a very good chance of getting to the final of the Europa.
Yeah.
I think, we stand a good chance of progressing in the FA Cup. I don't understand the mentality of some fans that say, I'd rather play Peterborough's and the lower ranked teams to get to the FA Cup. I don't understand that.
Well, I think it's just an easier passage, isn't it, really, so to speak?
Yeah, but why make it things easier for yourself? The thing is, you should be willing to challenge yourself every time you step out on the pitch.
True.
That's what you should be doing.
The flip side is, if we had an easier run out and got to the final, there'll be a section of fans will say, "Well, we didn't really beat anyone."
Yeah.
I mean, we won the cup, but we didn't really beat anyone big. Well, so
whereas,
you won't please everyone.
Yeah. Anyway, couple more just quick questions before we wrap up then, Russ. Don't want to take up all your afternoon. I know how busy you are, buddy. So, question I forgot to ask you when we were talking about Declan Rice, future England captain, perhaps?
Definitely. Yep. Yeah. Definitely.
So, do you see that happening while he's still at West Ham?
Yeah, I could do, actually, because in the day, all it takes is Harry Kane to get an injury, and maybe Maguire not having a great game, and then because Deck's one of the first names on the team sheet now, so he's in the shake-up really. He's not a senior
Hmm.
player, but I think if you're looking at teams and you know, if Harry's, you know, not picked for a friendly or something like that, and Decky's played, and I could definitely, maybe not a permanent England captain yet, but I could see him becoming England captain. Yeah, but I think he would be next in line, surely, because
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen him since. I mean, I used to go and watch like the under-23s at the stadium, and he
Hmm.
would stand out like a sore thumb. Not because he was a good player, because he was a good player, but he was playing centre half. But he had that sort of captain
Captain mentality.
John Terry-esque sort of British bulldog spirit about him, to be honest.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's a really hard. You can't train that. You can't make someone be a
No, no,
captain.
no, no. You're either born with that kind of
You are,
mentality, or you
and he's
don't
just
have
that
it. Yeah.
type of the boy. He's just that type of boy.
Yeah. 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 Um, okay, so David Moyes, how do you think that his future looks with us? I mean, can you see him like being a long-term manager with us, for the next sort of 3 to 5 years, or do you see this kind of coming to an abrupt end anytime soon?
No, I think he did it for the project. I really do. I think he has. I mean, West Ham is his new Everton, and he was at Everton for 10 years. If the results are still and the performances are still performing, and the team is, for us now, it's not about, I don't think this season, to be honest, I don't think it's about getting Champions League this year. For us, it's about consistency. We have one good season in 5
Yeah,
for a long time. After last season, the best season would have been the bowling season. After that, maybe in the championship season in 2012. After that would have been maybe the FA Cup season. So literally, we have a good season every 5 or 6 years. So even if we don't finish sixth, as I said, if we finish sixth, it'll be the first time ever in our history we finished in the top division in the top 6. Even if we finish 7th, I think we've only done that once. No, might have even done it once before, actually, because with Redknapp we finished 5th and then 8th. So even that would have probably been, so for me, that's now it's about finishing in the top 6, top 7, and then top 7, 6, 7 next season as well. And being in the shake up for Europa League, because all it takes is one win, one way or the other, and you're in the Champions League. Could have been one win, and we'd have been in the Champions League last season. So it's about progression. So where people go, "Oh, we need Champions," no, we don't. We need Champions League maybe to keep Deck, but then if you want to keep Deck, you need to have progression. And for us, it's about consistency. It is about getting to the finals, the semi-finals, the finals of the FA Cup. It is about progressing into the latter stages of Europa League, maybe even winning it. I mean, win it, you're in the Champions League next year. So it's the easiest path.
That's exactly it. Yeah.
To be honest, to get
Are
into
we, are we
the
ready for the Champions League
no,
yet, though? Bro?
No. We're not really ready for the Europa League, I'll be honest, I don't think.
No.
As a squad, as a team, as an 11, yes. As a squad, no. And I think this summer is going to be the biggest, and I've said it on my streams before, I think it's going to be the biggest squad rebuilding job we've done without a relegation behind us. That makes sense. So, we've got a lot of players out, and I think this will be hopefully the last, people like Yama, people like this coming to the end of their contracts, the overhangs of the Pellegrini era, although Fornals was signed and Fabianski, but that doesn't really matter. I can't say over that one. But yeah, and then it'll be Moyes' squad. And you see I know we haven't brought in as many players as we liked, but you can see the types of players he's bringing in. They're West Ham players. They're West Ham players. They're not.
They are, aren't they?
We ain't going to spend.
And he's created a bit of a monster in Bowen as well, isn't he?
He has, and we're not a team, and Moyes isn't a person who'll go out and spend 50, 60 million pounds on a player. We're not. And because I don't think we've got the mentality, ours is almost like the sum of the parts is greater than the individuals. And so it's almost like you have to be the right, the right piece of the puzzle. Jesse Lingard, I thought was going to be the wrong piece of the puzzle. I was proven wrong. He was he fitted perfectly into the puzzle. And
I bet you were pleased to be proven wrong on that occasion.
Yeah, and then where someone like Craig Dawson, he was ready to be made into that piece of the puzzle because he comes from like 2 million quid, and he developed into these. So, for me, it's about getting the right players, not just their price tag. The fact is they're £40 million. Woohoo, great, brilliant. I don't care. I mean, Bowen was 17 million, something like that.
Yeah.
And Suchek was around the same. You know, Soufal was 5 million quid. Do you know what I
5
mean?
million quid. I mean, that was a bargain, wasn't it?
It was.
That
It
was
was.
a
And
bargain.
so, you know, for me, you know, so it's a huge job coming in the summer. Obviously, Mark Going's a massive piece of West Ham history that's gone in the summer.
Yeah. But my
And
understanding is that, you know, he'll be retained as a member of the backroom staff or something, and
yeah, they're trying to find
scouting or something.
they're trying to
Scouting
find
was
his
one of the
role.
jobs.
Yeah, I think they're trying to find his role. By the sounds of
Yeah.
it, he's not. I know he's done it. I think he's done his. I was talking to Kevin Keane. He said he did say he's done his coaching badges, or he's working towards his coaching badges, but he doesn't see his future at West Ham as maybe that in that capacity. He wants, you know, and actually it's the same as if someone said to you, Clive, do you want to work at West Ham? You go, yeah. You want to be on the pitch doing the coaching. You want to be going finding the next gems. You want to be in the bowels, you know, creating what's going to be the future for West Ham rather than necessarily on the pitch. Because I mean they've got enough coaches there. They've got some of the best coaches
and they
in the
got
world.
some very, very good coaches. Yeah,
exactly. So adding to him there is going to be nothing. You know, for me, I think for him, it's about. I would prefer, in terms of if I was finding him a role, I would have him as alongside Rob Newman as like a number 2 in recruitment because he's got all the business. He's got all the football side. He knows the club inside out. He knows what it is to be a West Ham player,
and he knows what kind of player West Ham would thrive with.
The fans want, and you know, having a fan in that situation is very useful. But he doesn't know the business side, so he doesn't know about transfers and negotiation. So with Rob,
which is why, with Rob Newman, that would, you know, sort of balance that out.
And then eventually maybe move into a capacity where he's doing a director of football in 2-3 years time, you know, and doing the business side because, and I think he'd enjoy that because
baby steps towards running, as it were,
because he don't need to do. He's a multi-millionaire. He doesn't need to work a day of his life now. But he's doing that for his love of the club, and he's doing it for a love of becoming West Ham, you know, and I think that's a huge thing for us. It's a huge commodity to having someone who can, you know, because just imagine if you're between two clubs, a player's deciding, and you get Mark Noble turn up to basically tell you how great the club is, but rather than just a club secretary or something like that, Mark Noble's turning up, telling you exactly what it takes to be a West Ham legend, what it takes to be a West Ham player. I would be like, all right, then I'll go with you and this bloke I've never heard of, you know. So even like I know Arsenal have got Edu as their director of football, but Edu hasn't. I don't think he could passionately talk about Arsenal in the same way that Mark Noble could passionately talk about West Ham. So he's a massive commodity future.
I mean, Mark Noble has literally gone from the cradle to the terraces to the training ground to the, you know, London Stadium. Eventually, you know, he's done it all, and he's played in European competition and everything else, and you know. He deserves all the plaudits he's going to get, you know, and you know, I for one am going to really miss him as a player.
I think we're going to miss. I think everyone's going to miss him.
Yeah, but we all know that, you know, he's no longer really quite there anymore. He's not really at the sharp end of the stick anymore.
No, and I think with Mark as well. As you said, he's done it all, and where you know he'll get. You know, in 15, 20 years' time, he'll get compared to the, you know, the Bobby Moores and the Billy Bonds, and I wasn't around for them.
Yeah,
but they all won something.
Yeah,
he won fuck all. He's on fuck all, was it? But
not yet.
Not yet.
Season ain't over yet, Russ.
When he lifts the Europa League,
positivity. When he lifts the Europa with one hand and the FA Cup with the other.
But even when he had a chance to lift the Betway Cup, Clive, you know, when we beat Atalanta, he gave it to Jamal Baptiste to lift. You know, he's like,
but that's the mark of the man, isn't it? That's the measure of the man. I mean, look how happy he was with Sonny Perkins when he came on and made his debut in Europe and that.
And that's what I mean, because he sees that youth, he sees the future coming through. So I think he'll be a huge commodity for us.
Massive
in the
asset.
Next 5-10 years at least. Yeah,
definitely. Well, Russ, look, I've taken up a lot of your time already, mate, and I don't want to tie you up for too much longer. And I have actually got to go back to work myself.
I know, it's hard, isn't it?
I know, terrible. I'm halfway through putting somebody's flooring down for them. So, you know, I've left the chop saw and all the sawdust everywhere. You know,
oh god,
doesn't look pretty. Okay, but listen, Russ, it's been an absolute pleasure as always chatting with you. It's been,
Yeah, definitely.
you know, it's lovely of you to have agreed to come onto my little channel and show your support for that as well. You know, it's been brilliant. And please give my regards to the wife and
We will
Flo,
do.
you
We
know.
will do, mate.
Just, you know, one more thing for us to do before we go, and that's to just say, come on, you irons.
Come on, you irons, indeed.
Thanks, Russ. Take care.
Cheers, guys.
Bye.
Do you remember? I remember, don't worry. Do you remember? I remember how it all began. How could I ever forget? It's the first time. Do you remember? I can feel it. I can feel it. I can feel it coming in the air now. I can feel it. I can feel it. I can feel it. It's coming in the air now. Oh, no. We fell in love. You remember time. How could I ever forget? You remember time. Oh, no. We fell in love. You remember time. How could I ever forget? Coming in the air now. Nighttime, I'm sipping on a fine wine, shining like the sky.